Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Culture Wave Media Network. We are back with our first episode in quite a long time of the Jersey's Finest podcast. It's a podcast where we have conversations with Jersey natives, people that came from the tri-state area, and discuss their careers in entertainment, in film, and television, and music, and anything and everything creative. I am going to be one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Michael Peniston.
Hello, everybody.
And our guest today is Sophie Genovese-Mester.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Sophie. It's very nice to see you.
Yeah.
Sophie is a visual development artist, and she also does a lot of things in the world of animation. And so I'm really excited to talk to you, and so as I'm sure Michael is as well. Yes. But the first thing I want to touch on is, which I like to do a lot when we do these episodes and things like that, your creative spark and like where that came from initially, and like where creativity kind of started for you and artistry and things like that. If you can take us back and try to see if there's a specific moment you could remember or something that inspired you to get you to the point you're at now.
All right, that's a good question. I think that both of you can relate to this in the way of, I feel like for a lot of creative people, it's almost something that we can't remember. It's something I feel like for me, for as long as I can remember, I've always just been playing with my toys and scribbling and making stuff up. But something that I've been saying recently when people have talked to me about this is I would say my first kind of sparks of creativity happened in math class in school. As in, I did not want to pay attention to math in school, and I was sitting there drawing and drawing and drawing and not paying attention. And I feel like that was where a lot of my first ever ideas came from, and that was kind of where I started drawing, was so that I didn't have to pay attention to anything else I didn't want to pay attention to. And now here I am all these years later.
I think that is a shared experience of all creatives. I feel like no creative people like math at all. Vinny, who was producing this episode, I know for a fact based on stories, hated math class. And same here. I agree with all of that. But so when you talk about how you were sitting in math class and kind of scribbling these things out or deciding what you wanted to do, was it something where you would visualize characters? Was it worlds, or did it just start as one thing and then kind of morphed into something different?
That's a good question. I feel like in a lot of ways my brain moves very, very fast. I think anyone with ADHD can kind of relate to it. I just sort of, in a lot of ways, would put my pencil down and just start drawing random stuff without thinking about it. The very first things that I definitely drew a lot of were animals. I've always loved animals, and I've always drawn a lot of animal characters. I've always drawn a lot of little hamsters and cats and different things like that. And a lot of times I would just draw a little animal and a whole little story would kind of grow from there. And then it just sort of was a lot of things where I would draw one thing and then I would draw it over and over and over again in different poses, different ways, until I got it the way that I liked it. And that was sort of just what happens. Like, I would just draw and draw and draw and then think later and then build on top of it. So I don't even know what came first or what came next. It just all came at once.
Michael.
I do, but I love that you brought up just that experience of like being in school and using it as a distraction. You know, we're all in some way or another creative. And so I feel like art has always been sort of a distraction from those things that we truly don't want to focus on. And we all have been in the world of just sketching in class, you know. And so to see that you were able to take that and expand upon that is just, it's huge. And so, like Darian had said with the character building, at a certain point, you know, it gets to a place where you want to form a lot more of those ideas. And I guess, was it around then middle school, high school, that you found that imagination was kind of expanding even more? Because I know that you don't just do characters. I know that it's expanded upon to animation and everything. So was it around that point that you found that, oh, you know, I can do a lot more with this, you know?
That's an interesting question, because I feel like for me, it might have started even earlier in the way of like, I've always been obsessed with cartoons. Adventure Time was always my favorite one. Anything Cartoon Network and everything like that. But when I was really little, even like in elementary school, like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, I would go onto the family computer in our computer room and I would Google the names of different shows and Google the names of the people that I saw like in the credits and stuff.
Wow.
And I would just read about them and what they did. And I do remember like pretty vividly, probably when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I was Googling about Penn Ward, who created Adventure Time.
Okay.
And I saw on his Wikipedia or whatever that he went to college for animation. And I was like, that's something I can do. That's something that's real. And from then on, I was like, this can be a job. Like from then on, I sort of just would imagine myself as a little showrunner in my head and come up with whole TV show ideas. And when I was like in elementary school, it was just for fun. But then the older I got, like middle school, high school, that's when I started doing more research into it and realizing, looking at more behind the scenes content, like what that takes and what that's like and all that kind of stuff. I learned about Rebecca Sugar, who created Steven Universe, and looked at what she was making, and Alex Hirsch, who did Gravity Falls.
Great show.
Lots of animation people will tell you the same story of like those same people. And then when I was going into high school, I started looking more at the different colleges, and that was when I was in the FPAC program. And I took these ideas and put them into actual projects, like in class, making short films and different things like that. So I feel like it just sort of always just kept expanding over time.
On its own, yeah, sort of.
But, you know, I kind of figured it out from when I was like pretty young, but, you know, I took it more seriously, I guess, as time went on.
That's so amazing, though, that at a young age, you were putting in that research. You knew at like a super young age that, no, this is what I want to do, and that you were able to then, when you knew you could, you know, do more with it, you went full force with it. So that's amazing to hear that you knew at a young age, and to see, you know, where it's brought you to. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's unique to hear that you were like Googling people in the credits at such a young age. Because I mean, like we all love movies and television here, and I think everyone in this room are big fans of animation.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something that even from a younger age that I was doing. But you seem like you've had your path kind of set out for a very long time. Is that gratifying for you, going on the steps that you've kind of gone on and doing something like the FPAC program, which our audience obviously is aware of at this point? A lot of people we've interviewed, and we've all basically been in the program ourselves. But being in that program and being from where you were to where you are now, how is it for you as somebody that is a creative to know that you're achieving that as you're going, you know?
Oh, it's very emotional sometimes, like in a good way. I think back at who I was, like the little Sophie that I used to be, and I just have these moments where I'm like I am living my dream. Like I'm doing what I've always wanted to be doing. And even though like at this point I'm not at Cartoon Network or whatever, like I thought I was going to be straight out of college, I'm doing this work and I'm getting these connections and getting to meet people who do all that kind of cool stuff. And I'm just realizing like more and more every day, that this is my dream and that it is possible. I think we all experience a lot of self-doubt as creators, you know, because we all want to be like Steven Spielberg. We all want to be these big directors or whatever. And I feel like at certain points in our career, we reach a moment where we're like, our dreams are too big. You know, you start thinking like, that's not me. Like, I'm just meant to draw whatever background, whatever small thing. Like I'm lucky if the tiniest bit of work that I make is used, or that the tiniest bit of work like that I'm even able to make it. Like I'm lucky if I'm able to do anything. And you sort of like get to a point sometimes where you stop having those big dreams. And I think, you know, at school I faced burnout and different things like that. And and when you're surrounded by a lot of talent, you see how great other people are and you think, I'm not that good. Like, that's not me. Like, they're going to be a showrunner, not me. But then recently, I've just been reconnecting with my dream and reconnecting with myself and my passions. And I've realized, like, no, like, this is my dream. And even if it's not something that I achieve 100% right away, I have my whole life to get into this industry and to create and to live my dreams like what I thought I would do when I was little. It's like you just need to not give up and keep going at it. But, you know, we're all on this path and we'll all get there. So I don't know. That kind of went off topic.
No, I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Genuinely.
Thank you.
Playing on the positive side of what you're talking about, because you did, and we'll get to because you talked about the burnout, which I think is important to discuss when it comes to animation in general in the industry. But for you, the creative process in general and creating, what is your favorite part of creating? What's your favorite part about being an animator, being someone who is able to literally take something from nothing and expand it into something?
So, my specific role in animation, you mentioned this before, is visual development. For the people not in the know, which I didn't really know what that meant until a couple of years ago. That is the pre-production and concept art stage. That's kind of my favorite part of it, and that is like that's the aspect of animation that I am trying to really get into. So what that means is the very, very first steps of a project. Like, to me, that's the most fun part, because at that point, you can do anything. Like, it's just a blank canvas. That's when you're coming up with ideas and you get to just throw stuff at the wall. And it's a lot of just ideating. Like, if you are coming up with what a building is going to look like, you have to draw that building like 100 times with 100 different, not 100, but a bunch of different times with a bunch of different variations. And from there, you look it all over and you pick, like, this is how I want the buildings to look. This is how I want this to look. But at that point, it's like there's no wrong answers. You can just kind of do whatever and then see what works. That's my favorite phase, because it's before you're really locked into anything and you can just kind of do everything. So we did a lot of that with our project. We did a lot of drawing stuff over and over, a lot of mood boards, a lot of figuring stuff out, and that's always going to be my favorite part.
How do you know when you have landed on that, right? Like, I know you said that you're with a team, so I guess there's a few people in the midst of, oh, maybe this might be it, but I'm sure coming from the person that's really throwing those ideas out there, like, I'm sure it's hard to be able to be like, oh my gosh, this is the one, like, this to go. It's you just know.
That is a good question. I still don't really know if I've landed on it. Like, even when I've made the final decision, I'm like, I don't know. Could I have tried it 100 other more times? It's a lot of second guessing yourself. And that's something I kind of need to work on, because even with personal projects and stuff, I will draw something like 1,000 times because I think, like, maybe the next one that I draw is going to be the perfect one. But you got to remind yourself, like, there is no perfect one. Like, art is subjective, and 100 people are going to have 100 different opinions. So for this project specifically, we had to remind ourselves that we had a time limit. We had exactly 1 year to get the whole film done. And we only had, like, not even a couple months to get the first visual development process done. So it was pretty much just me and the director, Ashley, doing it together. And because she was director, she had final say. But, you know, it was really a conversation between the two of us. A lot of decisions were made together. But we would just, it helps to get other people's opinions. We would be working on stuff and drawing, like, characters or props or whatever a bunch of different times and making variations, but we would just show it to our team, see what people say if we really couldn't decide on something, because sometimes the decision is obvious, but sometimes when you really can't decide, just get other people's opinions. That's what we did, and help us kind of land on something. But I have to say that is the hardest part of everything. But yeah.
But so the main reason we're here, obviously, to talk to you is this film that it's screened at Garden State Film Festival, which we were lucky enough to cover some of this year. And you being obviously a New Jersey native, being a member of the FPAC program and all that stuff, you were art director on the short called Deer Season. And it's a really great and ambitious project, regardless of the fact that it's a 3-minute project that you already alluded to. It took like a year to get this done, but it really opens up the eyes, hopefully, to our viewers that, like, takes a lot of time to create something. It does. It really does. So I want to talk to you about that process too, because you touched upon a little bit. You're like, we had a deadline. We had like 1 year to get this done, and it's 3 minutes. But you ran this team essentially of people who were making sure that everyone was staying on the same animation track, making sure the characters were kind of aligning. So what was that like? Because this is probably your biggest project, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I'll go into the whole process. So Deer Season was created as a SCAD senior capstone film. So a lot of colleges do stuff like this. It's just like our big senior project. But we had to work with a team of 10 people to do it. And the whole process started our junior year. At SCAD, the way it's run is if you want to direct a senior film, you have to pitch it and it has to get voted on. And basically anyone who's interested in being director pitches a concept. So Ashley Wadsworth, who's the director of the film, is my best friend from school and my roommate. And we both basically had this pact where we would both pitch an idea, and whichever ones got picked, we would have the other person on the team. So that way, because we knew that we both wanted kind of leadership roles on a project. But there's so many ideas and it's kind of a toss up to see what gets picked. And we sort of thought if we both pitched, we would have double the chances of working on a project because we knew we wanted to work together. So we sent in our pitches and hers got picked, which I was like, thank God. And I immediately went right on the team, and we decided that my role would be art director, which means that basically I was in charge of the concept art and the general look of the film. I had to do mood boards and style guides and basically everything that kept everyone on track. Just literally everything. We needed a guide for it so that everything would be consistent. But then from there, we had to find 8 more people to fill up the team. So there was a whole recruitment event. We had to find, a certain number of 3D animators, 2D animators, technical animators, which is a whole nother ball game. We had to find so many people, and we did it. We got 10 people together, and then we got started on the project. We had exactly like 1 year to basically get it done. Or less than a year. I don't know. We started it the summer after our junior year on early pre-production, and we finished like the beginning of May of our senior year, and that was when we fully wrapped it all up. And SCAD is broken into 3 semesters. So the first semester was pre-production, getting everything ready. The second semester was production, so the actual animation. And then the third semester was post-production, so final editing, compositing, putting it all together, all that kind of stuff. So it was a real race to the finish line. Even though the film, it had to be 3 minutes. That was the mandate from SCAD. Like, it had to exactly be 3 minutes, not a second over, which that seems short, which it is. And I'm sure we could have done it longer if we were allowed to, but it really puts it all into perspective. The fact that it was a 3-minute film and we were rushing to the finish line. Like, we were like, we're not going to finish, but we finished. It was a lot of work. And it took like so many skill sets I have no idea about. Like, I went into this knowing absolutely nothing because I'm a concept artist. I don't really do much of the actual animation, and I knew nothing about 3D animation at all. And now suddenly we have half the team is 3D people, and I'm looking over their shoulder and seeing what they're doing, and I'm like, I can't even comprehend any of this. Like, it's crazy. I learned a lot. And now it's done. And now I'm here.
I was going to say, that has to be such a rewarding feeling to be able to like take on a responsibility like that of over other people, and then still be able to learn something in the midst of it too. Like, that's very rewarding. And from what we've seen, it holds true. The work is amazing. It's so
Thank
the
you.
timeline of it all is nuts. I can't even imagine tackling.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I definitely so that's the biggest thing for me. Like, in watching the film, like it it's clear that it has different animation styles within it, but like I'm a newbie, like I don't know like what is technically happening in the frame. For me, it's something like it kind of reminded me of have you, anyone in here ever played the Telltale video games?
Yes, that was on the mood board.
There you go.
Walking
So
Dead, Telltale video game.
That was very much what I kind of felt in it. And then I know you guys did like the comic blurbs as well, which was like probably Spider-Verse inspired. I'm guessing.
Guilty.
And so you were a co-writer on this project as well, correct?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that with the story of the film, because it does speak to climate change, and it does include obviously animals, which are near and dear to your heart, which you started the podcast with. So talk to us about that process of crafting the story from the beginning with your friend.
All right. So basically, when Ashley originally pitched the film, that semester that we were doing it, the pitches, we were already under a lot of time constraints. It was a very tough semester for all of us. And as she was crafting the pitch for it, she knew that the story would change. I don't think she realized how much it would change over time, but she knew it would change. But the original idea of the pitch was very different than what actually happened in the end. So the original pitch, Marco, the main character, was a middle-aged man, and there was no female character. There was no Lucia. So it was just the main character, Marco, as like a guy in his 30s or 40s chasing down a deer. So in the original pitch of the story, it was still post-apocalyptic. It was about a bounty hunt of a character searching for a creature that he thinks is a monster, only to find out that it's a deer at the end. And it still, had the same themes of environmentalism and stuff. But even she, as she was doing it, knew that it wasn't fully thought out, and she knew that when she really delved into that project, that stuff would change and stuff would expand and everything like that. So when I joined on, we knew that there was stuff that we wanted to change, and we just sort of sat down over the summer and we had a lot of calls and a lot of conversations about what the story really meant to us and what we wanted to show to the audience. And what we ended up landing on was we split the character of Marco from the original pitch into two characters. We took kind of the more serious side of him and put it into his older sister, Lucia. And we took the kind of goofy parts of Marco and aged him down and made him into a 14-year-old boy. And we thought it would be better to have the characters be two different people because it allows for dialogue and allows for more information, and also it allows a relationship between the characters, specifically a sibling relationship, which is something that's definitely near and dear to me and Ashley's hearts. Both of us are younger sisters, and we both grew up wanting to be like our older siblings, so it was fun to kind of put that dynamic in there. And we knew that we wanted to keep the whole idea of them chasing a deer through a post-apocalyptic city, them thinking it's a monster, but then finding out it's just a regular deer. But to show that, over time, if we keep destroying the planet like we have been, even typical animals and common animals like deer aren't going to be common anymore, and to kind of show that we shouldn't take them for granted. So that has kind of always been the same throughout. But we took a lot of time just sitting together, having conversations, writing a million different drafts, speaking the dialogue out loud with each other to make sure it made sense and everything. But yeah, that was kind of the process. It was fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys were crafting things on the go, essentially. Like they were coming from a perspective of going in one direction and then kind of reworking it to where you guys ended up. I do think it was very successful in the way you guys crafted it, because you get the sense of the siblings and the fun banter that they have, which was the big thing that stood out to me. Because the first thing kind of sounds, and maybe this is like a recency bias thing with me, it's like I'm thinking of like The Last of Us. Like that sounds like.
So, as art director, a lot of what I did for this project was getting inspirations together, because as you guys know, in any creative process, nothing is 100% original. We all have inspirations. And the biggest inspiration in making it be 2 characters was The Last of Us. I am a big Last of Us fan. And at the time we were first coming up with the story, it was the same year that season 1 came out. And
it was on the mind.
God.
It was at the forefront of the mind.
I have to say, it was actually the whole pre-production process. It was kind of perfectly situated and things coming out because The Last of Us, I think, came out earlier that year. And then the summer that we first started was when the second Spider-Verse movie came out and also the animated movie Nimona came out on Netflix. And basically, Last of Us, Spider-Verse, Nimona were our 3 biggest inspirations stylistically and story-wise, kind of. And we put that all together. And then also a little bit of another recent thing that it's kind of a coincidence, but another inspiration that was on a lot of the mood board was the original Electric State, the book of the Electric State, which has now been turned into a very bad movie on Netflix that I'm very upset about. But
we have a review on the channel. You can check it out.
I saw the review and I agree with everything that you said. And I had also just recently read that book when I was putting stuff together for this film. The original book was a big inspiration as well. But back to The Last of Us. Something that we wanted to do, though, when we were splitting the character up is I feel like we could have easily made it a serious older brother and a more naive younger sister. But we felt that that would be a little bit too on the nose to The Last of Us. So that's why we kind of swapped it and made it an older sister. And also, I feel like it was fun to have an older sister character that wasn't necessarily motherly. Like, she's definitely more tough and more masculine, which we got into. I don't know if I should say this, but we got into some discussions with the professor about it, about people saying she didn't look feminine enough. And we kind of had to push back on that, which we love our professor. He's wonderful. But that was like some discussions that we had, but we wanted to kind of push it into a different direction when we were thinking about that and thinking about the characters. And I'm happy with how it turned out because you can see the inspiration there, but it's different enough to where it's our own thing. So
yeah, and I feel like it holds true on what you're seeing with these characters on screen. Like the little brother role, it's such like a naive sort of, but then the innocence of having that younger character, and I'm sure. Again, like Darian had mentioned, you starting the conversation with your love for animals at a young age and drawing, like I'm sure that correlated there as well into the characters, and so it definitely held up. There were a lot of things also in this film that I was blown away by. That aside from just animation and stuff like that, the sound effects that you used at different moments. Were you guys utilizing Foley in the process at any point or in post or?
A little bit. Our sound design was done by a wonderful member of our team, M. Dawson. They put that all together really near the tail end of the production. I believe there's some Foley that they did. Some was sound effects, different things like that. The one Foley I'm responsible for is when he is sucking on the lollipop at the very beginning. That was a temp audio of me sucking on a lollipop. I recorded on my phone. We probably should have replaced it, but I put it in the edit and we never took it out. So that is my voice acting starring role of the lollipop.
Put it on your
sound.
IMDb page.
Put that on my IMDb.
I love that. That is so funny. I also got like Blade Runner vibes, which I could see in like some of the concept art, like for the background of like the neon signs and things like that. I thought you guys just did such a great job of balancing genre in the movie. Was that like another conversation that you guys had in terms of like things you really wanted to cover and making it span across different genres in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we took inspiration from a lot of different things. It has a little bit of Western inspiration to it. It has definitely action and then some comedy. I think something that we talked about was, for me, I actually am not an action fan, really, or like I don't really like stuff that's too dark or too post-apocalyptic, which is ironic. I was just talking about The Last of Us, but I feel like the reason why I like the ones that I do like is because they lighten things up. I feel like if something is super dark or super heavy, then I find myself ironically not caring about the characters. Like, I don't care what they're doing. But once a character makes me laugh and endears me, and deer season. Get it? Once they endear me to the characters, then I actually care about what's going on. And then when it does get dark, I care more, and then I'm more worried. Back to The Last of Us, Ellie's always cracking jokes, and she's really cute and like lovable. So then when she's in danger, I care more about the story. So we wanted to start it with something that was fun and lovable, so that way when they're chasing and they're doing scary stuff, and when he's about to shoot the deer with a gun, you're worrying about him. And I don't know, that was kind of how I like to balance it. But yeah,
if a character's entirely negative, then you're not going to root for them.
Then I don't care. Yeah. You can die, whatever. I mean, not in real life, but in a movie, I'm like, whatever. Let them die. I don't care. That's terrible.
It's not terrible. It's the creative process.
It's the creative process.
It is the creative process. Did you have anything else on deer season?
Again, I just compliments to it. I really loved to have that post-apocalyptic world, but to still have like the humane side of it all, and to have even just like a deer in a bag of chips, you know, you know what I'm saying?
It's as simple as that,
right? You know what I'm saying? But it's so effective, you know. It especially in a lot of the world we're living in today, you know, with things happening, and it's really nice to see. And so again, compliments to the whole team for the project. Yes.
Thank you. Something definitely going off of that is our big theme that me and Ashley talked about was that life goes on, and that there's always hope in the world, because even though in the movie everything's destroyed, there still is a deer. There's still little bits of plants growing, and Marco is a young boy who's going to grow up and hopefully bring good things into the world. There's still hope. We didn't want to be all doom and gloom about it, because in our own world, it's easy to be doom and gloom, especially right now, but we got to remind ourselves there always is hope.
Yes.
But going off of that, I really, really, really want to shout out every single person on the team, because, again, I was not the director. I was the art director. I really was only leading at the beginning of the project. And then as it went on, I sort of took a back seat and saw what everyone was doing and just helping where I could. Big shout out, of course, to our leader, Ashley, who I've talked about a lot. She started as a visual development artist just like me, and when she directed, she did a lot of that, but she took it onto herself to learn 3D stuff. She learned how to texture and 3D model and some 3D animation. She learned all this crazy stuff just to support the team. It was amazing to watch. And then shout out to our producer, Elena George. I'm going to just go through everyone really quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our animator, I hope I don't forget anyone. Our animators, Chandler Wiley, Via Sillins, Layla Zhao, M. Dawson, our technical director, Cassidy Overman, Cameron Hickenbottom. I'm forgetting someone. Let me count. So me, Ashley, Elena, Cameron, Via, Chandler, Cameron, M, Cassidy. Did I say Via? Oh, Layla. I think I said everyone. I love you guys so much. If you're watching this, I hope you're watching this. I'm going to make you guys all watch it. I love you all. They're all super talented, and we could not have done any of this without them. The amount of work and the amount of hours they stayed up, the amount of stuff they did, we would have nothing. So they are all amazing, and I love every single one of them. And I got really lucky to be on this team, because you hear horror stories, especially at school, when you hear about all these people put on teams. I went into this team not knowing like 3/4 of them, and by the end of the year we were all like besties. And you hear horror stories about people hating each other and like wanting to murder each other by the end of it. I did not want to murder any of them, so I was very lucky, and I love them all. So I just want to make sure, put that out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, crazy kudos to everybody. Here is a quick clip from deer season.
All right, back from that amazing clip.
Yeah,
so
amazing
good
clip.
to see it. Yeah, so good to see it. I'm curious. Now that you've gone through this process with this film, the timeline that you experienced with it, and now having like the finished product, I'm curious if you would want to tackle longer projects, you know, in this realm eventually, if you would want to reach the world of feature length, or even if, you know, you're in the art stages, you know, before a lot of that can kind of match storyboarding and stuff, would you want to step into the world of, you know, leaving like live action or stuff like that? I know a whole career ahead of you, but you know, I'm curious with what we've seen so far. Yeah.
Yes, if anyone will have me on their team. I mean, what's it called? Right now, where I am, it's hard for me to, I mean, the answer to that question is yes, but I have to find the right team for it.
Okay.
Specifically with feature films and stuff, that's something obviously that would take a whole studio or a whole bunch of people. Or if it's an independent project, there's a lot of, you know, funding, there's a lot of team building, you know, because a lot of times a fully independent project, it's hard for it to take off the ground. Like, you need to make sure that there's funding and everything like that. Eventually in my career, I would love to work either at a studio on any kind of film, or an independent studio, or just an independent group of people. But I'm the type of person where I'm at this moment in my career, I know I don't have the capacity to spearhead anything or to lead anything at this moment. So right now what I'm doing is I'm working on my portfolio, working on personal projects, working at my job and everything, and just sending out applications, sending myself out there, networking, trying to connect with studios. My biggest interest is probably in television animation. That's kind of my biggest goal in general, but you know, I'm gonna see what happens. I hope someday. That would be such a dream, to be able to go to the movies and see your name. Like, oh my god, that would be crazy. So I would love to. I just love being creative, being a part of things. So hopefully one day.
Yeah, someone go hire Sophie.
Yes,
and she's incredibly talented. So you talked about television animation, and you've already touched upon some of your inspirations on a lot of Cartoon Network shows and things like that. I see one of the personal projects that you concepted, and I think you even have on like your mood boards, like it is very like Dexter's Laboratory inspired, which was one of my favorite animated shows growing up. So shout out Dexter's Laboratory. But what are some of your other kind of like favorite animations that you've watched over the years, and even like, I guess, current animation that's still on that you're enjoying right now that you're watching?
That is a good question. Let me think. I feel like what has kind of happened to me is that once I've gone to college and started working on animation, I found myself, unfortunately, watching less and less of it because my brain is so animation focused. I feel like I find myself watching live action more often. But in animation right now, very into Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which is a mostly live action film, but he's stop motion, and I think it was nominated for Best Animated Feature. I love that movie. I love Lilo and Stitch. I think that's my favorite animated movie. I love that movie. And so many shows and so many movies are doing such interesting things. Give me a second to think.
You could also talk about live action stuff too,
okay,
that you're watching.
But I just remembered something. I saw The Wild Robot. I loved that movie. I cried a lot. And also, what's interesting is once you work on a 3D animated film and once you have been like behind the scenes, you can't watch it normally, because now I watch like The Wild Robot or whatever, and I'm like, they had to texture paint that on Adobe Substance Painter, and they had to composite this with 2D animation on top and blah, blah, blah. I wonder how they modeled that, how long that took, how many iterations did it take? It's like, I can't watch anything normally now because I'm just thinking of that. But I love The Wild Robot. I still have to watch Flow. I'm such a bad animation person. I still haven't watched it. But seeing what that team did, like them making it all in Blender, is crazy. I'm like just so amazed at all of that. And also, I am just massively inspired by the people around me, my fellow animators at SCAD, and just within my age range. Big shout out to all my fellow capstones. Shout out to, there's a film called Bad Dog that was made in my year with a lot of my friends working on that. It's releasing on YouTube in a couple days, so shout out to Bad Dog. The other one I'm going to shout out is called, this is going to be an inappropriate word, so I hope that you guys can handle it. There's a film called With Tits. Some of my best friends worked on it. It's about women in basketball, which you wouldn't think from the name, but it was such a genius film. It's so funny. It is like the funniest thing ever of all time. I'm a big supporter. There was a lot of other amazing films in our year that I'm blanking on. Kit and Spoon and the Wayward Moon. That was one that was really good. Look that one up. Operation Talus was really good. And I'm forgetting other ones right now. So imagine I just shouted all of them out because they're all amazing. And just look up SCAD Capstone 2024 and you'll probably find a lot of them that were really good. And that was our biggest inspiration, just seeing everyone around us. And I loved them all, except for the evil ones. No one was evil. Or were.
Did you have something?
Sorry.
Michael's throwing his phone at the set.
You're too funny. I'm sorry. Sorry. We just gotta get my train of thought back from that.
I'm sorry. I don't even know.
That's just hilarious. What's it called? Yeah, those are all great examples, for sure.
Thank you.
Are. Definitely watch Flow 2 if you get the chance. We covered that on the channel, so you all watch that review as well. But yes. But you said earlier in the talk too a few shows that I know I loved growing up. That for me, it was just watching the shows. For you, it was researching a little bit more. But like shows like Adventure Time, Gravity Falls, like that era of show and television. And I know a lot of those creators, they kind of are friends and they come from the same world, And so I just, first of all, like to hear that those are inspirations for you, that's huge, because again, I love those shows. But I'm sure it could end up being very similar to a situation with everyone that you just named at SCAD, where all of you guys could eventually have your own sort of head shows and still connected and everything like that. And I love that you're so quick to even shout out these people that you worked with. And I want to hear more about that time that you had at SCAD, like just like personally, in terms of your own artist growth. Was it just the overall rewarding experience for you? And
I miss it every day. When I was at SCAD, I feel like I was stressed. I was burnt out. It was crazy, but
like every college student,
every college student. But it was just such an amazing time in my life and something that's going to be special to me forever and ever. I met the most amazing people. I got to spend, my freshman year was cut short because of COVID, or like it started during COVID, but then slowly over time, getting to be a part of the animation department. We were all definitely trauma bonded by the animation building. Anyone who's been to SCAD knows Montgomery Hall. It used to be a coffin factory. There's no windows. It's like lightless, but we all were there it's open 24 hours. So we have all spent all nights there working and working and working. But it just gets to the point where everyone is so delirious and just walking around. You can just start a conversation with anyone, say hi, peek over, see what they're working on. And it just became such a great network, like knowing that the people there always have your back. Like I met some of the most amazing professors who've worked on the most amazing things, met the most talented people in the whole world, and getting to call them my friends. Like, it's crazy. Like, some of the people that are the most talented are also like the nicest people on the planet. And it's crazy that someone can be both. You know what I mean? It's like you want to be mad at them for being so good, but you can't be mad because they're so nice. It's like there's got to be something off about you. I don't know. So it's just getting to be a part of that community. And I have to say, like, my favorite memories aren't even the ones where I'm like working. It's just the moments in between. Like, I think anyone who's like, especially like working on a film set and stuff like that, like the moments where you're not actually filming, just like in between everything, when you're just hanging out with people, or like when it's super late at night and getting to, you know, just know the people around you, and the point where it's like you're so delirious and you're so tired and everything is funny at a certain point. It's like, those are the memories I'm always going to hold on to. And I know that some of them are going to be my friends forever, hopefully. So
that's great, though. That sense of community, honestly, is great. And so, not to make this a negative thing, but it's something that I wanted to circle back to. And it's, as somebody that works in the world of animation, that community is so strong. Obviously, they have one. I don't know if they did unionize or they wanted to unionize. That's
yes, we did it, guys.
There you go. But so a lot of it was because of the way that there's been such a strain on animators in recent memory. Especially, you talked about you were a freshman in college when COVID hit, and COVID made things a lot more difficult for a lot of creatives because they wanted a lot more output because everyone was at home, and a lot of challenging things that were happening. So, very curious on your thoughts on all of that and where we are at now in comparison to then, and what you think, kind of, how can this be fixed? How can animators feel good about where they are and the way they're being treated in the industry?
Oh boy, maybe
it's a big can of worms. But
I know, maybe giving me a microphone is not a good idea, because I could talk about this forever. Things are messed up, people. Things are messed up. All these animated films you love, like behind the scenes, there's some crazy stuff going on, like in this freaking industry, I have to say. So when COVID hit, a big thing that happened was obviously in-person filming for live action had to be paused, but a lot of animation could be done from home. So in COVID times, animation continued, and a lot more people were hired, and a lot of good changes happened. But then once that kind of ended, and once there were more mergers and more employee changes and blah, 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 they wanted to make more money, a lot of layoffs happened. A lot of studios shut down. Things are really messed up. I would like to personally shout out. I hate that man. I could say some really bad and violent things right now about that man, but I won't, because I'm choosing peace. He is not good. But other than that, not just him, it's a sign of an epidemic. It's because they don't value what we do, and they don't care about us as people. There's a lot of toxicity in upper management, a lot of bad stuff. As we all know, AI, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people are thinking that they can replace us with AI, or that what we do doesn't really matter. A lot of bad stuff, a lot of layoffs. It's not good. So that's why they unionized. I mean, they were already unionized. There was already a union, but they renewed the deal, and they had to fight for more protections. Some of it was successful, some of it was not. But we always have to keep fighting and standing up for ourselves. And you know, it's scary because there's a lot of layoffs to where like people who have been in the industry for like 10 years can't find a job. Like there's people who worked at Pixar for 10 years who got laid off. Here's a fun fact, not so fun fact. The woman who saved the movie Toy Story 2, I don't know if you know the whole story where Toy Story 2 almost was lost. Right? And it was saved because a woman named Galen Sussman was on maternity leave, and she had a backup. She was laid off and fired by Pixar like 3 years ago because Lightyear failed, and they blamed her for some reason because she was a producer on the movie, when maybe Lightyear failed because the upper executives at Pixar just didn't make the best movie. But they just blamed her for no reason and blamed other people, when it's like there's no loyalty from people in upper management. They just don't see us as people. And I like how I'm saying us as in if I'm like really in the industry. I'm not, but I'm part of this community. And you hear these horror stories, and unfortunately there's still a lot of sexism, a lot of racism, a lot of hatred within higher ups, and it's just bad. But luckily, let's make it positive, guys. Indie animation, I think, is gonna save the day in a lot of ways. There's a lot of these up and coming indie studios, like Glitch Productions. They have made some really cool stuff. Even I personally am not the biggest fan, like just in my own personal taste of like Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss. However, they have employed many of my friends, and I know that they are run very well. And I think it's really cool what they're doing, that they are an indie production, and that they're so successful. I think we need to just keep giving money to indie creators who are going to save the day and going to change the world. Flow was indie, Oscar award winning. And we need to be holding these executives accountable, and we need to be making a big stink about it. I don't know. That could have, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know.
I think you need a podcast. Right? I think there's a whole podcast.
I don't know.
I think there's an entirely whole podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But no, a lot of what you're saying is true. Yeah. A lot of what you're saying, and it doesn't just exist within animation, but you're talking about it from your perspective. But the reality is that that's a lot of the world we live in, and especially as creatives. Yeah. I mean, it's the unfortunate reality.
Yeah, and it's so important. I feel like that you are saying this, and you the animators are speaking out against this, because like we said, a lot of this is happening behind the scenes. A lot of people don't realize it's happening. Not only that, we're dealing, I feel like, with a genre that doesn't already get as much respect that it should from the general public.
Yep.
And so to know that all of that is happening behind the scenes, and how much money is being played into just, again, all areas of this industry, it's frustrating. It is very, so I understand your pain. I do. Keep speaking out, speak your truth.
Thank you.
how have you found though that with recent successes of like Spider-Verse and I know Puss in Boots did fairly that was a great movie, yes. How are you finding that with still this weird rise of animation still happening, and these new techniques and new creative endeavors happening in this genre, that with this evolution of it, and you're still getting this whole side, this whole, how are you finding that contrast into it? I'm trying to figure out the right way to explain it, because I'm learning more about it.
I think I know what you mean. It's like, it's interesting because we've reached, like, in some ways, a golden age of animation, like stylized 3D animation, which is huge, because for a long time a lot of 3D animation was looking pretty similar. But I think Spider-Verse kind of kicked off the trend of different types of 3D animation visually. And I think that's great. And I think, everyone in animation has really felt that. Like Puss in Boots is a great example. I think every animation studio, honestly, at this point, have shaken things up and have tried different styles of like stylized 3D. And that's been really exciting. It has been sad to see some behind the scenes troubles in a lot of these places. Unfortunately, like, you hear stuff about even the production of like amazing films like Spider-Verse. Like, some animators had a great time working on it. Some felt really overworked and like to like an insane degree. But like, a lot of these people are so proud of what they did, even if they, didn't necessarily have the greatest experience behind the scenes. It's like, I think all of us are working really hard to kind of, push the industry forward, and kind of in spite of the way executives are treating people in the animation industry, like, in spite of what they're all doing, we are still pushing forward and we are still innovating. And I think that's good. I think it just shows, like, no matter what, we're going to keep on growing and keep on moving and everything like that. So, it's exciting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, but it's good that you're holding on to that hope with it, and it brings me back to Dear Season, like that, the theme of the hope. I know it's there needs to be a lot of hope in this field. I agree. So thank you for enlightening us on what's happening, because
thank you.
More people need to know.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
Yes, we need hope.
Yes, definitely. 3 rapid fire quick ones for you. Ask this at the end for everybody. In terms of film and television, what are you watching now?
Ooh.
Currently, recently, what do you have?
So, The Last of Us season 2, Yellow Jackets, has turned me evil. I love Yellow Jackets. This wasn't that recent, but Agatha All Along, love. Abbott Elementary.
Any films you've seen recently that you really like?
Films. That's a good question. What did I just watch? I just watched a movie. I just watched the Minecraft movie. I was like, I just went to the movie theater. What did I watch? I don't know if I recommend that, but I had a great time. They were screaming "Chicken Jockey" in my theater.
Of course.
But I am a Minecraft player, so I appreciated all the references and stuff like that. And then as for good movies, I don't know. Maybe I don't watch that many. Well, I just rewatched Lady Bird, which is my favorite movie of all time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I rewatch it like once a month. So, love that movie.
Nice. No, that's a good answer. I mean, Lady Bird's great. Greta's great. Music that you're currently listening to, whether that's something that inspires you when you're doing your art or things like that, or just new music that has been on the mind recently.
I've been listening to a lot of Doechii. I was listening to Doechii in the car. I love Doechii. Love her. I've been listening to a lot of the Crane Wives. Also like Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, Chappell Roan. Who isn't? But, you know, I actually thought about that on the way here. I was like, I wonder, because I was listening to music. I was like, I wonder if he's going to ask me about this.
There you go.
So I had my answer. I was ready.
Do you have something in particular you listen to when you're drawing? And
yes, I do. It's kind of embarrassing. I listen to a lot of podcasts when I draw.
Love that.
I listen to a lot of Trisha Paytas, who is not... I love her, but I shouldn't love her. She's not the best, but she's entertaining. I listen to her in the background all day while I work. And a lot of podcasts, a lot of like video essays on YouTube. I listen to Jenny Nicholson all day, ContraPoints, all that kind of stuff. Just people talking. Love to hear people talking.
People yapping about.
People yapping.
And last one, are you a reader? And if so, what have you been reading recently, or what did you read? Something that sticks on the mind that you read recently? I
am a reader. I mean, I like to reread a lot of stuff from when I was a kid, like just before bed, like stuff that's not that serious. Like I used to. Now, this is also probably embarrassing. I used to read Warrior Cats, like the cats that fight each other books. And I have all those books still from when I was a kid. And I like to reread them before bed sometimes. But I love 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. He also wrote The Kite Runner, which I also love. I'm blanking on other books that exist. Curious Incident of Dog in the Nighttime. That's still like my favorite book from high school. But I like to read just like simple things, you know, but that's pretty much it.
I feel like there's definitely nothing wrong though with going back to the books of your childhood, especially in the field you're in. I feel like so much of that is going off of the nostalgia and imagination from when you were younger.
Yes.
And a lot of those books I'm sure holds a lot of those, and so never be embarrassed by that.
Yeah.
You got to connect with your inner child.
Yes.
Absolutely. It opens up the brainwaves in a different way, for sure.
Very true.
But thank you, Sophie, for being here for this interview. We really enjoyed talking to you the whole time. Yes. Everybody, so you can't check out Deer Season yet. But when it is made available, we will let you guys all know. But Sophie's portfolio will be in our YouTube description, so be sure to check that out, especially if you work in the field of animation or drawing. You should definitely see her work. It's very inspired, really exciting stuff. In terms of us here at the Culture Wave Media Network, we do a bunch of things here. We cover movies, we cover television, we have other interviews on the network, so please check all those out if you guys can, and all this stuff will be on our socials. And reach out, make sure you guys comment, let us know your thoughts on the interview. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing Sophie's story. I know that we certainly did. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. But I'm just going to sign off. I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Michael Peniston.
And I'm Sophie Genovese-Mester.
Thanks so much for joining us, Sophie. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
This is The Culture.